Alright, welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you're doing well. Let's talk about this middleweight division because it's like on life support machine right now. It needs a little bit of life. There are some good fighters in there, but then there's a bit of a gap. So Janabek, the unified champion, very good fighter, had a very good performance and to win the belt off Gutierrez. I think that's his name. Then you have Jamal Charlo, who's still the WBC champ. Hopefully he can come back and hopefully he can actually make weight at 160 and campaign again there. Carlos Adames is the WBC interim champ. Irislandi Lara, who he didn't fight at all last year. He's a WBA champ. And then dropping out of that, we have Chris Eubank Jr., very good fighter. I'd love to see him in a big fight next year. And then the light at the end of the tunnel for this division is Elijah Garcia, who's a really good young talent. But we're going to get into all the other fighters in this video, so let's go. Boxing. As always, thanks a lot to all the subscribers. Much love and thank you to anybody new. Gratitude to you. Wishing everybody a happy new year. I know you've probably heard that so many times this year, but I just wanted to wish you guys a happy new year and I hope you had an enjoyable New Year's Eve, whatever you did. Right, okay, let's talk about the state of this 160 division, because when you look at it and you realize just how little a lot of these fighters are actually fighting, and when you, as I mentioned in the beginning, the gap or the lack of talent, you know, as I've made a couple of videos on the 140 and the 154 pound divisions, and you know, they were just, I almost left, I had to leave a couple of names out that I forgot about. Shout out to the guy that reminded me about Josh Kelly at 154. I forgot to mention him, another you know, dark horse you could say. But for 160, it is looking a bit bleak, you know, which is a shame. I like to do videos about positivity and try to, you know, get some encouraging words. But the middleweight division, look, obviously you had the old guard, Triple G. He's what, 41 now. He didn't fight at all last year. He's been taken out the top 10 in most of the sanctioning bodies, rightfully so. But he would still be, you know, very dangerous fight for any of the, like I said, for example, Chris Eubank Jr. or, you know, any of the other contenders. Hamza Shiraz, I forgot his first name. Hamza Shiraz, British fighter. He's got a pretty good test coming up against Liam Williams, okay? Liam Williams obviously had a good fight with Andrade. Definitely passed it, but still a decent test. We want to see these fighters tested. Now, Liam Williams is in there as well, but, you know, he didn't look too good against Eubank Jr. in the second fight. And, you know, you do wonder how much he's got left in it. Then you have Felix Cash. I know I'm not mentioning all British fighters right now. I'm going to get to the Americans and the Europeans as well. But Felix Cash was, you know, breaching that contender bracket or in there, but he didn't fight at all last year as well. So this is a bad trend in this division. It's a bad trend in boxing, period. But when you're talking about contenders coming through and they're not fighting at all, that's a problem. You know, when you've made it as a boxer, you know, you can. I know fans don't like to see it, you know, but at the end of the day, I always go a bit lighter on inactivity, especially when they're at the top level. You know, they've been boxing their whole life and they've made some money and they're just enjoying life. But I still want to see them fight. Don't get me wrong. I just go easy on them because I know it's a brutal, hard game. I don't know like that, but it's a tough sport. So that leaves us with look, let me touch on this kid Elijah Garcia, because he is the future of this division, as bleak as it does look, because, you know, as I said, a lot of these guys are at the tail end of their career. Irislandi Lara being a champion, he didn't fight all last year. He's 40, and then, but this kid Elijah Garcia, he's 21. I forget his actual record. I put it up on the screen. Might be 17-0, 18-0, something like that. He can punch. He's a southpaw. He's aggressive. He can fight on the inside. He can box a little bit, and he's very talented. And he's going to get pushed by the PBC, and he's getting some great exposure. He was on the Canelo undercard. Had a good win against I forget how you pronounce that guy's name. Resmedez, or it's not that. I'll leave it on the screen. I didn't see the fight live. I wasn't able to watch that card, but I've been following Garcia a little bit, and shout out to anybody that knows him. He's definitely one to watch for this division because it is so empty and there's opportunities there. But Janibek, okay, I watched his fight with Gutierrez yesterday. That was a great performance, albeit against a lesser fighter and somebody I'd not heard of before. He unified the belts, but he's getting better and better. And he's been boxing since he was 6 years old. He's coming out of that Eastern Bloc, Kazakhstan. Anytime you have fighters coming from Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and I'm forgetting one too. But that area, Central Asia, Eastern European fighters are very disciplined. And they're very hard-working, and they're very well-schooled, and they're going to be a problem. And Janibek's skill level is going up and up and up and up and up because his range control is excellent now. His footwork's getting better. I've always felt like that was a bit of a problem. He was a bit plodding, but I saw his footwork was a bit sharper. He's a really good counter-puncher. And that's the thing with these Eastern European fighters, or fighters from that area. They put a lot of pressure on you, but they can step back and counter you with like mean uppercuts. And Janibek's got a mean uppercut, and it's just another added, string to their bow where they can counterpunch well, and that's on top of putting pressure on you. So I'd love to see Janibek in a meaningful fight. I'd love to see him against somebody like Carlos Adames, or I don't know if the Lara fight really does it for me, even though he would be unifying the division again. Lara, I saw him on the pads, I want to say about 6 months ago now. Granted, there could be some context to this because he was in the gym and he looked out of shape and he looked slow, but who knows how, if he just got back in camp. So I don't want to just use that piece, but when you do get to 40, boxing's a rough sport, but so Jamal Charlo, obviously still question marks about him. He put a decent performance in against Benavidez, but I do wonder where his discipline is if he can't make 160, And I know he had some issues out of the ring, so I'm not going to go too hard on him. He was definitely in a bad place, but and he's obviously made some headlines for some worse reasons. But at the end of the day, there are opportunities there, but there doesn't seem like there's that much talent coming through. Hamza Shiraz, I spoke about in the beginning. We'll see how he does against Liam Williams. He can punch a little bit. He looks like a tidy boxer, but does he ooze major talent? Not for me. And then the other guys I mentioned, look, they also got Derevinchenko, who is the main gatekeeper in that division, and he's a decent little gatekeeper. If you look at his record and you see who he's fought, it's quite impressive. I know he's lost a lot of these fighters, but if fighters get accused of ducking all the time, and this is what you get. Him and Rosado remind me of each other, where they'll fight anybody, they'll fight the top guys, and they'll put a good fight in too. Fought Danny Jacobs, good fight. Fought Charlo, good fight. He fought Munguia, just recently. That was a really good fight. Derevinchenko's willing to mix it up, but he'll pay the price for it because he's lost 5 or 6 times or something like that. And but he just fought at 168, so I don't know if he's going to be back down and we might have just lost a really good gatekeeper, at 160. So it is looking bleak in this division. It really is. If you know anybody that I've missed on this video, please let me know, because I've gone through and I've tried to, I might forget a fighter. I tried to go through the rankings, and there's another fighter from Kazakhstan that I have seen on I forget his name. I'll put it on the screen, but I saw him fight on a random undercard. He looks okay, but again, I never write off people from that part of the world because they are usually really well schooled, and they really know how to fight, and they really work hard. So outside of these guys, that's it, and that's why it's bleak. I would love to see Chris Eubank Jr. get a good fight. I know he called out his promoter the other day, and he's coming off a great performance, and Bomax looks like he's really guiding him and giving him a mini resurgence, just based off of simplifying the game plan and getting him to be his best. And I think that pairing, worked really well, and he got. It's amazing a coach can get when you just guide them in the right way, a bit like what Ben Davison did with AJ. I think you can really get the best out of him, and I think Bomac's going to do that, you know, because Chris Eubank obviously made some mistakes in the first Liam Smith fight, and Bomac corrected him, and there you have it. But this video, really, I wish it was more positive, because it's like I said, it's looking bleak. If you look at that, the list of how many fighters in the top 10 didn't actually fight last year, it's quite high. You know, that's not good for no fights to happen for fighters in the top 10. So anyway, I think Elijah Garcia's the bright light at the end of the tunnel. Janibek too. He's going to be in hopefully some really good fights next year. Carlos Adames, Julian Williams as well. Forgot about him because he lost to Adames, right? In a controversial fashion. He was definitely getting touched up a little bit, losing definitely, and he was getting hurt quite frequently in that fight. I watched it yesterday, but it was a premature stoppage for sure. And Adames looked like he was gassing a little bit. He's a vicious puncher, man. But I'd like to see Julian Williams. I know he's got a fight signed again soon. I'd love to see him back in the mix, because it's his time's running out a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Because he's had a few losses on his record recently. He steps up and loses at the top level, but I think he's an interesting fight for somebody like Chris Eubank Jr., for example, you know, or Elijah Garcia maybe in a year or two. But I don't know. I like Julian Williams, and I love his trainer Breadman too. Anyway, that's it from me. Not the most positive video, because I tried to be realistic and, you know, just energize these divisions, but this, I had to address it because it needs some injection. So like I said, if you know any fighters that are talented or up and coming in this division, let me know, or let me know anything else. If you have any comments about the video at all. That is it from me. Peace and love. Boxing on the Edge. Have a great year 2024. I'm out.
Boxing